Hello, so I'm going to talk about remedies for breach as promised. So, when you are a victim of a breach of contract, one of the remedies you may have is rescission. And what is the aim of rescission? The aim is returning the parties to their original position. So, in case you had paid something, you would get your money back, or if you had delivered the product, but rescission was used as a remedy, you would get your product back. So it's just being in the position you were before the agreement was made. As per damages or monetary compensation, the idea here is to put the victim in the position they would have been in if the contract had been properly performed. So let's say by getting my fresh croissant supply, I would have resold them, I would have made profits. So it means that I will be able to recover as damages, as compensatory, as monetary compensation, potential profits I would have made if the contract had been properly performed. So in contract law, damages will look at the future. What position would I have been in had the contract been performed properly? Whereas in tort law, damages or compensation will look at the past. Remember, you suffered an accident, your arm was broken, so the compensation will allow you to have your arm as it was before the accident, so not broken. Again, tort law compensation looks back, but for breach of agreement, compensation looks at the future. And then we also have this liquidated damages. So this is a clause or a term in the agreement in which the parties agree to a certain amount in case any of the parties breaches the agreement. So let's say I'm buying a smartphone and we have a liquidated damage clause or term in the agreement saying that if anyone breaches the agreement, if the other party doesn't deliver the smartphone, or if I don't pay the full price, a certain amount has to be paid as damage. And this liquidated damage will be paid if there's a breach, regardless if the non-breaching party suffered a loss or not. So parties, once they agreed upon the liquidated damages and the breach takes place, this amount has to be paid. One thing is that this amount is only valid if it's legitimate, if it's reasonable, a fair amount. So I'm buying a smartphone, 1,000 worth product. So we cannot agree upon a liquidated damages for 5,000, even for 1,000, the full amount. No, maybe 100, 200. So it has to be a fair amount as per the transaction. Deposit and down payment. So very common in house purchases or car purchases. A deposit is a type of a liquidated damage because when you pay a deposit and then you change your mind, you don't want to move ahead with the deal, then the deposit is forfeited. The deposit will not be returned to you. Whereas a down payment is actually the first payment of the purchase price. So in case you change your mind, the down payment will be returned to you. So when you make a decision to buy something and you are required to either pay a down payment or deposit, keep in mind that the deposit is, between quotations, forcing you to go ahead with the deal. Because if you change your mind, you don't get the money back. Whereas if you're just paying a down payment, then you may change your mind and you get your money back. So no more issues. Victims, they have to mitigate the loss. This is a contract law principle. So whenever you suffer a breach of contract, you cannot just fold your arms, go back home and watch Netflix for the whole day. Let's say you lost your job. You were dismissed wrongfully. So again, you cannot go home and watch Netflix for the whole day. You have to update your agreement. You have to apply for other jobs. You don't need to get another job because this is not under your control. But whatever is in your control, you have to do in order to mitigate the loss. Or you rented a car, you would go to Whistler to have fun on the weekend, but then the car was not available. The rental car breached the agreement with you. So what you should do, you should try to rent another car so that you can go to Whistler, enjoy your time there, and then you can sue for the damages because you probably paid more for the car. But you cannot just accept a breach and sue for the highest compensation ever. In terms of equitable remedies, those are remedies that were created by the courts of chancery. We discussed in chapter 1. We've seen them already, so it's going to be mostly a review. And two things you have to keep in mind. First of all, they are used in situations where damages are not adequate. And I'll give you an example in a while. And also, there are conditions or situations in which the equitable remedies are not available. So they are not available if you, the victim of a breach, you were also committing a wrongdoing. So let's say you are the owner of a land, you came into an agreement with this construction company to build your house. You didn't pay them, or you didn't pay them, so you didn't comply with your obligation, and they stopped building your house. So you cannot use the equitable remedy because you were also committing a wrongdoing. But if you were paying them normally and they decided to stop building your house, in other words, breaching the agreement, then you can use some of the equitable remedies we'll see. It is also not available if there's an innocent party involved. So you sold me your smartphone and then I resold to a third party. So the third party is involved will be affected. So they're not available. And if you as a victim took a benefit, so you took a benefit even after you were a victim of the breach, then the equitable remedies are not available either. Some of those equitable remedies will be specific performance. We've seen this already. So I have an agreement for the supply of fresh croissants. My supplier stops delivering me. I don't want money, or money is not adequate this time because I need the croissants to resell them, etc. So I'll go to court for specific performance. So I want my supplier to keep on supplying me. Another equitable remedy will be injunction. So when someone is breaching an agreement, I believe I've used this example already. My neighbor and I, we have an agreement. My neighbor starts building a wall that will block my view, and we have an agreement that no one will build such a wall. So I don't want money. I actually want my view not blocked. So I will go to court for an injunction so that my neighbor stops breaching our agreement. We also have accounting, and accounting is the obligation to disclose all financial records and also pay the profits to the victim. So the example here, repeating again because we saw in chapter 1, would be Nike shoes. They found out this distributor of fake Nike shoes, and then they would go to court for an injunction so that they stop selling the fake goods, but also for an accounting order in a way that this distributor discloses their financial records and also pay all the profits they have made to Nike. And quantum merit is paying a reasonable price for the services that were executed, were delivered already. So in that construction example, I hired a construction company to build my house. I stopped paying them, so breaching the agreement for whatever reasons, but they have partially built my house already. So they can sue me for quantum merit order so that I pay them everything they have delivered already, even though they didn't deliver everything, the full contract, but they didn't because I breached the agreement. So whatever they have delivered up to that moment, they are entitled to receive. So those are the main remedies for contract breach. And please let me know if you have any doubts by email or come talk to me during my office hours. Thank you and enjoy your weekend.